Welcome back, my name is Ian and you're watching the Copper.gravity YouTube channel where I make rolling ball sculptures like this, and this, and this. Now I make them out of copper and wood and electrics, and they've all been a little bit different. And I'm about to start my 7th sculpture, so this one's going to be called RBS7. Now RBS7 is actually kind of growing in my mind as I start. To be honest, it's going to be a prototype for RBS8, which is a much larger concept than I'm working on at the moment. But in order to make RBS8, I'm going to use a different lift mechanism that I've ever used before, so I thought I'd make a prototype for that. And in order to make that prototype, I then decided, actually, let's just make something really nice and pretty. This one's probably going to be a gift for somebody, and that will be my prototype for RBS8. Now what I've done so far is I've bought a glass display case. This is secondhand, I got it off Facebook Marketplace, and it's got glass on all 4 sides and on the top. The front side lifts up, and it's got this really sweet little metal catch, and then you would normally put your display things in there. There was a glass bottom and a glass shelf, but I've taken those out. And then if you want the lid back down, you push the little catch and it goes back down. So that's already done, and I really like this because that's my woodwork. You know, it's kind of sorted. So all I need to do is obviously all the copper stuff on the inside. Now because it's a glass cabinet, it's going to be nice and quiet and dust free, and it's going to look really nice you know, in somebody's living room, I think. But I also wanted to make it kind of a bit more special than it already is. So I've bought a light and I've fitted a little light. So inside here there's just a little strip light, and I've got an external switch that, you know, the light can come on and off, and there'll be another little switch over here that turns the motor on and off. So it's going to look nice. Now the motor has not yet arrived, but it is going to have a axle and a wheel on it, and I'm going to make some kind of bush system, and basically the motor will be at this end. This will obviously be shortened, and the motor will drive this wheel. And what will the wheel do? I hear you think. Well, the wheel will push on the outside of this bearing. Now I did use one of these before on RBS5, the one for the Mad Museum, and I really liked the way that it kind of worked. This on that one, RBS5, the bearing was horizontal and it pushed a spigot that pushed the ball up a slope. This time I'm going to mount this on the inside of here at the back, and have the drive motor either on this side or on this side rotating the outside bearing way only. So when the outside rotates, I'm going to fit to the outside here these kind of sticking out spigots like this that will rotate round, and they will push a ball up oops, nearly broke it. And that will push a ball up the up a curved track that I've yet to design and build, which will be in the sculpture. So that when the balls get to the bottom, they'll queue up, they'll get lifted up by the outside spigots on here and go all the way up around the top, and then when they get to the top, they'll do their thing. So essentially, yeah, they will roll down to the bottom, probably doing some nice things and bits and bobs on the way. Now, in order to, because this is finished and antique and beautiful and nice, I don't really want to have a go at building this thing that I've never done before on the beautiful sculpture thing. So remember I said that this is a prototype for version 8. Well, in order to do the prototype, I've actually just started to knock up another prototype. So this is my prototype for the prototype. You still with me? And what I'm going to do here, and basically I've already kind of started, is I'm going to mount this bearing onto this frame, which is exactly the same size as this. I've drawn a black line to signify exactly where the glass is, so I can't use any tooling or put my hands in any way in order to build this. And I'm going to have a go at building the lift mechanism on this prototype first. Once I've done that, I'll be able to employ the same kind of technique in building onto the real RBS7. So prototype for the prototype for RBS8 is where I'm at and where I'm going. Now let's talk about the balls. I've been running a few experiments with different materials of balls, and I've got 4 samples here to show you. Now these are all 1 inch diameter, which is the diameter I'm going to use on RBS7. And these are the glass balls that I used for the Swan, that's RBS6. And they're quite cold, quite noisy, and when they run down the track, they do actually make quite a lot of noise. So I'm thinking of using something different to the glass marbles. These ones are a snooker ball. The resin they're made from is called phenolic, and they come in all sorts of different colours. And again, these are 1 inch size diameter, and they're just a bit more pretty than the glass ones. And I really like these. Even though they're a resin, they've been made to be super round, you know, a very good tolerance on the roundness, and there's no seams, and so whatever colour I buy of these, they'll be really good. And I think having these coloured balls dancing around in the cabinet will be quite nice. So I'm quite tempted to use the coloured balls. Then we've got 2 more types left. This one here is Delrin. Sometimes I think it's called acetal. And these are quite a lightweight plastic ball. Again, quite well made, no seams. But because they're lightweight, they don't feel very expensive. They don't feel very good. And if I want them to perform little tricks as they go down through the sculpture, then I'm not sure exactly how they're going to go. I'd say these are my least favourite, but they are quite cheap. They are the cheapest of these 3 on the right here. So I don't think I'm going to use those, but it was a really worthwhile experiment to buy a few and just to see how they feel and how they roll. And this final one is PTFE, and these are really heavy. They feel a bit more like steel in their weight, a little bit more like the glass, which is quite heavy, but they've got a kind of matte finish. Again, they are smooth, seamless, really nicely controlled diameter, so they'll all be the same weight and the same size, so no problem with repeatability. And they've got a lovely, lovely feel and a lovely, lovely sound as they roll down the tracks. And of them all, these PTFE ones are actually my favourite. So maybe in the future I will make the transition away from the glass balls, which are very cheap, so they're much more expensive, but lovely, lovely to hold, lovely to handle, lovely to roll. PTFE balls. However, the style of sculpture that I'm going to make inside this cabinet, I think really lends itself to the coloured balls. And the manufacturer I've identified for these, they only come in white. So for this one here, the number 7, I'm going to be using the phenolic resin balls, the snooker balls or the pool balls. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of different coloured ones in 1 inch diameter, and these will be dancing around in here, and I think they'll look really nice with the copper and be a really nice thing to work with. Now, one of the first things I did before I started this process was to do all my thinking and imagining and trying to work out if I actually had a project here or not. So when I saw and bought the cabinet, that was pretty much the decision that I was going to go ahead and do this prototype. So the first thing I did was measure the cabinet, draw it up on Sketchup in a way that I can actually start to picture what size of bearing needs to go in. So you can see on Sketchup that I can remove the front glass door and I can insert the bearing into the right place, and I can work out exactly what size of bearing to buy, because obviously they come in lots of different sizes. I've kind of guessed which motor I'm going to buy at this point, and I've drawn a little motor block, and that's kind of in position roughly where it's going to be. Having done the prelim sketches, I then purchased the bearing, purchased the balls, purchased the wheel and axle and bushes and things like that. And like I said earlier, I'm just waiting for the motor to arrive, and hopefully that will all be really good, and I'll have a system that lifts up the balls. So if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll be one of the first to see the progress of this as it goes. Hopefully in the next video there will be a rotating bearing that lifts up the balls. It will probably be in the prototype version, but For me, that'll be a really good success. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.